Okay, my friends, today you're in for a treat. This guy was a beast, Jeff King, and he's the only bodybuilder I know that's got two Zillas to his name, Quadzilla and NECKZILLA, and both absolutely true. Uh, and the other amazing thing about this guy is how young he started. When he won his first major contest, he was like 17, I believe. And the first magazine cover you're going to see is from 81, and he was 19 years old in that picture. So much like Casey Viator, who we've covered, there he is, 19 years old probably in this picture, and obviously jacked to the gills. Uh, Incredible genetics, obviously, and we'll get into. We have a seminar from him that we're going to get right into. Uh, and then we're going to get into his actual some more specifics of his training routine, and we'll sprinkle some magazine covers throughout. So maximum muscle stimulation is what he's all about. Very much into mental focus, which is a prerequisite for everybody. There he is on muscular development. That's 83, so he's 21 there, and obviously jacked to the gills. And yet another guy that kind of got the shaft from Mr. Weeder and the IFBB. Never competed in the IFBB, and he talks about that in a John Hansen interview with him later on. So he says the final principle for muscle maximum muscle stimulation is weight. Although not a power lifter, he does like to use heavy weights. But if you watch his workouts, he didn't use massive weight. He was very strict on form. Did pretty lot of volume. Fairly. Here he talks about the reps. He's like, and he says that if you're going for strength, you look for 4 to 6 reps set. More for bodybuilding, you do 6 to 10 or even 8 to 10 is better. Um, and we'll talk about his rep range and everything else as we get into it more. But he focused on an 8 day cycle where most people work on a 7 day cycle where he's trying to get everything in a couple times during that 8 day cycle. Here he is again. This is a little bit later, strength and health. Um, Looks a little smooth there for him, but it's probably not during contest time. So he talks about which days he does what. Second method is train. He talks about different methods, and one of them was to train 3 days on, 1 day off, and then second method is to train every other day. But I think he focused on the 3 days on, 1 day off. But it also mentioned that if he didn't feel fully rested, he would take a second day sometimes. So he was definitely about the recuperation. Train smart, he talks about in the seminar. Um, Listen to your body. He talks about instinctive training, and he said, you have to find out what works for you. You don't need a million exercises; just find a few that work for you and stick with them. And then he still talks about that. He doesn't do the same exercises ad infinitum. He switches things up every few weeks or so. Here he is again later. Hey, and if this guy wasn't an Olympia contender, I honestly don't know who was. I think he certainly could have been a Mr. Olympia. Um, he doesn't train to failure all the time. You do see him, like if you watch his training videos, he gets some forced reps here and there, but only after doing legit as good as he can reps, and then when he can't finish a rep, he might get just 1 or 2 force reps on something. But he even talks about that can be overdone too. There he is. Look at that shape, and the quadzilla and the neckzilla thing are very obvious in that picture. When he finds it easy to perform 10 reps for 4 sets, then he increases the poundage. Um, and it says occasionally you still train to failure, but very infrequently, not never more than once every 2 weeks, and oftentimes much less. When you're going to train hard, train as hard as you can, but then back off. And he did have a habit, and I think it mentions later on that if he trained crazy hard for like 2 weeks, then he would take a back off week or two where he was just doing lighter stuff. Uh, Cheating movements are also used sparingly and only done after no more perfect reps are possible. Um, and you'll do see, interestingly, he never did back squats. Uh, and to have those legs without doing back squats is incredible. But he did front squats, leg presses, and hack squats. And if you watch all of them, he's going full range and doing reasonably higher reps, moderate weight, really. Again, there he is. Hey, look at that condition. He's ripped to the gills. He's huge. I don't see any shortcomings, really. Um, Incredibly well developed legs. We were amazed when he said he does not perform squats, although he read in some magazine how he did up to 30 rep high squats with 350. No, he didn't do back squats. Again, his big three main things were the leg press, front squats, and hack squats. And then, of course, he did leg curls and leg extensions. And we'll see pictures of that. But there, again, we talk about the neckzilla. Just, his whole traps, shoulders, neck, the whole thing, just amazing. Um, on calves, he only does two exercises. He's not a believer in seated calf work. He thinks standing calf raises and uh, toe presses on the leg press are the only things he does. He doesn't do tons of reps, but he does pretty good weight. 4 sets of 8 to 10, which most bodybuilders for calves will do like sets of 20. But certainly worked for him because his calves were certainly no slouch. There's a picture of him young, and you can see him getting rid of the bench press. There's only 2 plates on there, maybe some change. So that's what he's working out with. He's not working out with massive weight. Um, doesn't believe in machines much, although he does use them. And as we'll see later, one of the things he likes doing for neck is the Nautilus 4-way neck machine. I had one of them in Hawaii. I went 2 years ago. I loved that thing. The only Nautilus they had was that and a put pullover. Loved them both. There he is again with that neck. And if you look for videos with bodybuilders with the biggest necks, Jeff is right in there. Uh, Now he's been surpassed since then, mostly because people are taking more drugs. But that's not many still to this day have bigger necks than this guy. Talks about it one time eating 400 to 600 grams of protein a day made him tired, even though he was juicing. And you make no bones about that he was juicing, and nobody tries to say he was natty, and it would be ridiculous to look at him and say that he was a natty. There he is again and again with just the whole package, man. He's got the abs, he's got big arms, he's ripped. His legs are incredible. I mean, almost on a level with Platts. And to think that he did that without squats is phenomenal. Uh, doesn't he said if he went on 1,000 calorie a day diet, as most bodybuilders do, he'd probably starve to death. Uh, he loses weight with on like a 3,000 calorie a day diet, which is interesting. Um, he does it again. Talk about recuperation, working each body part only a couple times every 8 days. There he is doing the neck Nautilus neck machine, and this was obviously from the Bodybuilding Legend show, which is I'm subscribed to, and it's pretty good YouTube channel, I must say. If you're not getting sufficient rest, your progress will be delayed or even reversed. And then he mentions the importance of determination, can sometimes enable you to surpass individuals who have been blessed with superior genetics, which I can't imagine there's anybody on earth that has superior genetics to this guy, honestly. You must be willing to work hard and make a commitment. So here's his competitive career. We're going to break it up into 2 pages. And as you can see, Mr. New Jersey, they had a teen division, teen tall. He won first, 79. And again, he's like at most 18 there, maybe 17. And then he wins the Teen Mr. America, the Teen Mr. USA, Mr. New York, Teen, and goes on to win World Championships in '84 NABBA. Came in second in '85, second in '87 at the Universe NABBA, and second in the World Championships. '88, he kind of slacks off, ends up sixth, and he competes again in '89, and then I think he calls it quits. But certainly could have been, again, an IFBB pro and right up there with any Mr. Olympia contender, I think. Um, so we get into his workout routine. And you mentions about political reasons, really, because Weeder wanted him to start over after he'd already established himself very well in the AAU. He wanted him to come in as an amateur in the IFBB and basically start all over. He was going to go to the Night of Champions, which would have given him an in to the IFBB, and somehow they ruled him out from that contest after he had trained for it. So again, he got the shaft from Joe. Uh, his training routine was nothing unusual, and again, we're gonna show some of the stuff that he did. He did bang his calves every second day religiously, and he also trained his neck. Uh, Again, and there's he's, the only thing I could find about his neck training in terms of pictures was him doing this. Although he probably did other stuff, I'm sure. And he seemed to be a little innovative in the gym. If they didn't have the equipment he was looking for, he would kind of figure something out to get it done. Um, he describes his cycling, his reps by doing 4 to 6 in the first few days of the week, and then then later on he would do probably lighter weight, I'm sure, and then 8 to 12 reps for the same exact movements. I start his power routine with pyramid sets. Here he is doing the old standby dumbbell pullover, which seems to be part of his chest workout because he's doing it in a workout with other chest stuff. But then he goes on and does arms and stuff like that too. Here he is doing the pec deck, the old school pec deck, and this is like '84. This video I found of him training in Germany, which is actually a pretty good video. You can find it online. I suggest you watch it. Um, Schedule was like this: work day one, chest, back, neck, and abs. Two legs and calves, three shoulders, biceps, triceps, and neck plus abs again. And then take a day off and then do that whole cycle again. Um, he would regroup his body parts and train a different schedule for a few weeks and then switch things up. So he was, trying not to get stale. He got the muscle confusion principle, all that stuff. Here he is getting at least a force rep or maybe two on the pec deck. Again, he used these, but kind of sparingly. There he is doing the old school head knockers, uh, tricep press, which is an old school favorite. I like them myself, although I typically do them with dumbbells. Um, this is interesting where he does flies. His bottom position is really low, which is kind of unique in most of the guys that I've seen. Um, Obviously, he must be getting something out of it because his chest is hellacious. Here he is doing cable curls again on the preacher machine. And they seem to spend a little time getting the cable set up just right for the right angle for this. Another thing that he does, and you don't see him deadlifting at all. I don't think he even mentions doing deadlifts, but he does good mornings. And his back is certainly no slouch. So I don't think not doing deadlifts, or at least on a regular basis, did him any harm. Here he is doing reverse curls on the preacher. I've tried that, but with the just on the machine It's a little more difficult than doing it with a bar, but it's still doable. There he is again. I wanted to show that low position on the flies. His arms are like the back of his arms are up against the bottom of the bench there. As you can see, he's really low. So he's getting a really good full stretch there, and then he brings the dumbbells together. There it is again. That just, I thought that was unique about Jeff. Um, and then we'll get into kind of get stuck on that one for a second. He's doing one arm behind the neck tricep press, which was another popular thing. A lot of those old school bodybuilder guys liked. And then he also does, of course, tricep push downs, which I don't think I got a picture of in, but we all know what that is. So here he is doing his front squats. And again, he's not using massive weight here. He's only using a little over 200 here. But, he does good reps. And he gets really deep on these. Like he's going, his butt's hitting his calves. Okay. And he does the same thing with the hack press. You can see, he doesn't have all kinds of plates stacked up on there, but apparently he doesn't need it. You see, he's got his legs wrapped up, and he seems to keep his. He had like a sleeve on one leg and one wrapped up, so I don't know if he's dealing with some sort of little injury at this point. But then he does these. I always forget which is abductor or adduction, where you're bringing your legs together. But they didn't have a machine for that, so he just grabbed cables, low pulleys, and grabbed them with his hands and like pushed them together with his legs. There he's doing the extensions, and he still's got the wraps on, which is kind of interesting. Um, there he is with bottom position or getting close to bottom position of the leg press. And again, he's not playing around with short. Like you see guys stacking up 1 million pounds and doing like 3 inch. No, not Jeff. He's doing moderate weight, but really strict on the form. There he is doing his leg curls. He also likes doing one leg curls. Um, and that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope that you will. Thank those who have, and hit those like buttons for me, please. Thanks, and I'm out.